Welcome to Ray Reads, a podcast where I talk about the books I'm currently reading like I'm in a sad little one-man book club. For this very first episode of Ray Reads, I will be discussing a book by one of my favorite authors, Sarah J Maas. The book is The House of Earth and Blood, the first in the ongoing Crescent City series. So spoiler warning for that, and fair warning, there'll also be minor spoilers for other series by Sarah J Maas, the Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses series. To get started, I have to say that I love Sarah J Maas for how her books promote female friendship over female competition. I've seen too many other stories that fall to the cliche of she's special because she isn't like other girls. Sarah J Maas, however, writes female characters who are like other girls and who enjoy having girlfriends. In House of Earth and Blood, our heroine Bryce Quinlan belongs to a group of 4 unique best friends. It's Bryce herself, Danica, the alpha wolf shifter, who is her closest best friend, Juniper, a fond dancer for the exclusive Crescent City Ballet, and Fury, a world-famous assassin. These 4 come together as party girls, but they all have strong bonds of friendship. There so very easily could have been needless competition between Bryce and Juniper. Juniper is living Bryce's dream of performing for the Crescent City Ballet, even though she isn't Fae like the other dancers. Bryce, a half-Fae human, was denied a place in the ballet because she has the wrong body type and isn't considered as graceful or perfect. And while Bryce is a bit jealous, she always supports her friend without any bitterness, and that's great. It's one of the greatest points of the novel. Bryce is defined by her love for her friends. Bryce is the type who loves deeply in romantic and platonic relationships. She would absolutely go through hell to protect those she cares for. And after her best friend Danica Fendir is murdered, Bryce literally goes through hell in a sense. The book is divided into 4 parts, and each of these sections are titled after the first 4 layers of descending into hell: the hollow, the trench, the canyon, and the ravine. As we progress through Bryce's story of solving the murder of her best friend, we sink further into hell with her. Danica's murder broke Bryce. And here's another thing I love about Sarah J Maas. Sorry, I can't seem to help myself about going on and on about the author. She is fantastic when it comes to writing characters who deal with depression and PTSD. Even 2 years after Danica's death, Bryce is still lost to her depression. At one point, she had almost committed suicide, but Juniper had saved her just by showing up to spend the night, never taking her eyes off Bryce. When Danica died, Fury couldn't face her grief and disappeared from Bryce's life, but Juniper stayed and was there when Bryce needed her most. Then Bryce's PTSD shows up while she is investigating a crime scene with Hunt Athalar, the badass angel also known as the Umbra Mortis, or the Shadow of Death. I want to take a break here to talk about the very first encounter between Bryce and Hunt. Hunt is one of the first angels to arrive when Bryce called for help after Danica's wolf pack of devils is murdered, and she fights to save a random angel attacked by the demon she chased from her apartment. Bryce was hit and had a big wound on her leg. Hunt staples it together for her, and it later on heals, leaving a scar. The first time he touches her is to save her from dying of blood loss. He almost touches her again in the interrogation room afterward. Hunt wants to grab her shoulder to offer some comfort, but he holds back because he doesn't want to scare her, knowing his dreadful reputation. During this interrogation, Bryce is taken over by primal Fae rage and has a huge outburst. Hunt is now impressed with her because of that. Before she leaves, Hunt tells Bryce that they have a med witch on site who can heal her wound on her thigh properly. And then Rune comes in, Bryce's half-brother, a crown prince of the Fae. The siblings are on bad terms, but Rune still wants to be there for his little sister. Personally, I love Rune, and I think they should have made up sooner, but Bryce denies herself any pleasure after Danica dies, so that wasn't happening. The light inside of herself has literally gone out. She distances herself from her loved ones, she gives up her passion in dance, and she doesn't even desire to make the drop into immortality anymore without Danica. I think it's really touching that when Hunt gives Bryce a white opal charm, which is meant to bring joy, Hunt himself is a slave with a dark past and a lost love, so he understands better than anyone how Bryce feels. I appreciate how Sarah J Maas writes her love stories through characters who help each other and work through their grief together. Another thing I greatly love is the foreshadowing of Bryce's power. To start with, There's the phrase Bryce and Danica use for each other, light it up. It sounds like a party phrase, but it has a much deeper meaning. Then when Hunt accuses Bryce of slacking off on the case while she visits the nail salon, Bryce is so pissed that her eyes actually glow, and here Hunt thinks that it might be a suggestion of flames, which are a common power among the Fae, but it's her starlight. When Bryce pops in for a surprise visit later with her brother to ask him something, he is high on a mirth root and sees a halo of starlight around her. Even his legendary star sword reacts to her presence. It glows and sings for her. And then there's the Oracle, who was blinded by Bryce's vision of the future and how she can't see how to fix Luna's horn. But going back to Rune, most of the foreshadowing comes from him, first with Bryce and her starborn gift, and then again when it comes to Bryce and Hunt's relationship. Multiple times, Rune thinks himself, nothing good could come of it. It is almost like he can sense the impending doom of Hunt's betrayal. He again shows his perceptiveness with the Med Witch when he notices that she moves like a queen. Speaking of queens, Sarah J Maas is the queen of writing female main characters. Bryce's character is great, just because she isn't some teenage girl. She is an adult in her 20s, providing representation for the older half of young adult readers. And more than that, this character is in charge of her sex life and shows the importance of female pleasure. But I do have to admit that the smut becomes too much for me at times. I'm here for the fantasy and ass-kicking, and there are definitely times when I feel like the smut is an annoying distraction from the plot. There was one time in particular that the horniness made me irrationally irritated. When they gathered at the shooting practice area, Hunt got a raging hard-on from watching Bryce handle a big gun. Fucking ridiculous. But anyway, Hunt isn't a bad guy. He has a dark reputation, but isn't necessarily some stereotypical asshole or alpha hole, as Bryce would say. For instance, he isn't the type of character who is only nice to the love interest. From his first encounter with Lahaba, Hunt is nothing but kind to the fire sprite. His words are, well, aren't you beautiful? And he lets her perch on his finger. And here's where Bryce really starts to notice how attractive Hunt is. There are still plenty of alpha holes around, though, such as Bryce's sire, the Autumn King. He claims to have loved Ember Quinlan and that he intended to make her, his human lover, his queen. But after he scarred Ember in a fit of rage, she fled, pregnant with her child. Ember Quinlan reminds me of Jocelyn Frey from the City of Bones series by Cassandra Clare. Both of these characters are pregnant young women escaping from abusive, powerful men. They are both overprotective mothers of headstrong, red-haired daughters who have special powers. It's kind of neat. More than anything, this book obviously reminds me of Sarah J Maas' other books. For example, after their argument at the bar, Bryce cooks Hunt an apology meal, reminding me of the A Court of Thorns and Roses series when Feyre cooked for Rhys as a mating tradition. And then Fury, with her black bob of hair and her strange abilities and unknown origin, make me think of Amryn, obviously. And then this scene where Bryce bathes Hunt after his mission for Micah, I couldn't help but think of Aileen and Rowan from the Throne of Glass series, how this act of love occurs in both relationships before their mating. But more significant ties to the two other series exist in Jessica's Secret Library, the Walking Dead book Aileen used to learn word marks from, and the Book of Breathings used to nullify the cauldron in A Court of Thorns and Roses are found in that library. Which reminds me, Jessica Roga is an interesting character. She seems like a heartless businesswoman who only cares about what she wants, but then she is revealed to be the protector of the ancient library of Parthos, 2,000 years of human knowledge from before Astri domination. Jessica begs the city heads and anyone else at the meeting to save those precious books. Although she is more concerned about the library than Bryce's life on the line, Jessica may be an unsung hero. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to Bryce's power. She has the Crystallos demon venom removed from her thigh wound. Here, Hunt kisses her, and she feels a star bloomed inside of her, and a long slumbering light awaken. Her powers are no longer being suppressed, but it also seems as though the love growing between Bryce and Hunt encourages her power to rise. Ultimately, Bryce only uses her power to protect the people she loves. As a child, she saves Ember and her stepfather Randall by blinding the soldiers sent after them by the Autumn King. She used the Starlight again to save Danica from the shifters who ran a cruel animal smuggling operation during their so-called motorcycle accident. And finally, the greatest feat was when Bryce used her power to save Crescent City. It's like Danica always says, through love, all is possible. Love is the most powerful force. Love is what makes Hunt want to back out of his rebellious plans for the synth. But Bryce discovers his betrayal. Luckily, the Mer Therian is there with her, and he holds her comfortingly. Honestly, I love the friendship between Bryce and Therian, and I hope to see more of him in the next book. Fury is there as well to protect the friend she hasn't bothered to see in 2 years. Fury still cared enough to call in Rune to help take care of Bryce. Eventually, Bryce decides that she loves Hunt enough to forgive him. She goes as far as to offer herself into slavery to free Hunt. This is after she already further indebted herself to Jesiba in order to buy Lahaba's freedom. It is heartbreaking that the fire sprite's one act as a free being is to sacrifice herself for Bryce. As she builds up that final blast of power, Lahaba chants to herself a mantra, reminding herself of who she is. "My friends are with me, and I am not afraid," she says. This is just like the mantra Sam Cortland taught Selena in the Throne of Glass series. Everyone watching the battle remotely at the city meeting salutes the sprite out of respect. The next part I found really touching was when the ancient Prime of Wolves, Danica's grandfather, declared that one last wolf fought on to save the city, indicating Bryce. In his eyes, she is a true wolf. And it's beautiful. Overall, The House of Earth and Blood is a great story, and I can't wait to see where the next book takes us. I think the Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses series are superior, but so far, I still enjoy Crescent City.